They say you should treat everyone with kindness, especially those just trying to do their job. But some people think respect has a price tag. My name's Jordan, and I run a small grocery store in a quiet neighborhood. It's not flashy. It's not big. But it's mine. Most days are routine. Milk, bread, small talk. But last Friday, that was the day a woman named Karen screamed at one of my employees in front of everyone because he packed her eggs on top of her bread. What she didn't know, that man, the one she humiliated, he wasn't just any employee. And the story doesn't end the way she expected. Most days are easy. People come in, grab what they need, maybe chat a little at checkout, then head home. The bell over the door rings, the floors squeak a little, and life goes on. I like it that way. There's something comforting about repetition. Stock the shelves, check the dates, clean the carts. It's not glamorous, but it's honest. And honest work, that still means something to me. Fridays are usually steady. We get the regulars. Mr. Alvarez picking up deli meat for the weekend. June and Carla arguing over which brand of almond milk is actually the good kind. The local pastor grabbing coffee and lottery tickets, one for the soul, one for the thrill, he says. It was about halfway through my shift when I saw him come in. Gray windbreaker, khakis a little too big at the waist, hands tucked behind his back like he was forcing himself not to fidget. He always shows up early, even though I told him he doesn't have to. He doesn't clock in, just starts helping out, bagging groceries, straightening shelves, talking to the older folks like he's known them for years. And most of them talk back like he has. He doesn't say much to me during the shift, just a nod. We don't need words. It's just understood. Anyway, it was business as usual, music low, fluorescent lights humming like they do when they're tired, everything in its place. And then the door opened. You know how some people don't walk into a room so much as take it over? That's how she entered. Loud shoes, loud voice, hair that didn't move even though she did. Karen. Now, I didn't know her name was Karen at the time, but believe me, she earned it. She marched past the carts without grabbing one, already annoyed, muttered something under her breath about the parking lot being too narrow for real cars. Didn't smile, didn't nod, just moved through the store like it owed her something. I saw her glance toward the registers, saw her eyes land on him. He didn't notice. He was helping a young mom double bag some soup cans. Careful, gentle. Karen's jaw tightened. I felt something shift. Just slightly. Didn't know why. Didn't know how. But that was the moment. The first crack in a day that had started so normal. And by the time it ended, nothing about it would feel normal again. She was the kind of customer who didn't just shop. She inspected. Every product. Every shelf. Like she was waiting for something to be wrong so she could complain about it. She moved fast, but not because she was in a hurry, because it gave her a reason to be frustrated when others couldn't keep up. That kind of energy, you feel it from across the store. She grabbed a basket and started piling things in. Eggs, bread, pre-cut fruit, the kind of stuff people buy when they're not really planning to cook, but still want to look like they did. Every few steps, she sighed. Loud, theatrical, like the universe was personally inconveniencing her. I watched from the front counter, eyes flicking between her and the other customers. You try not to assume too much in this job, but sometimes people tell you who they are real fast. She got in line behind an older woman with coupons. That's when the noise started. A click of the tongue, a scoff, then the muttering. Seriously? Who even uses paper coupons anymore? The older woman turned, confused. Karen looked away like she hadn't said a thing. My guy at the register, Raymond, kept things moving. He's patient, calm, doesn't rattle easy. But Karen, she was already twitching, looking around like she wanted a manager just for being made to wait. And then, finally, it was her turn. She dropped her items on the belt like they'd offended her. No hello, no eye contact. Raymond scanned, kept it polite. She tapped her foot the whole time, and then came the voice. Not loud like a scream, but sharp, dry. like sandpaper dragged across glass. Make sure he doesn't crush my bread. No, please. No smile. Just pointed at the bagger like he was a machine that needed instructions. He looked up, nodded, and went back to work. Didn't say a word. I could tell he heard her, though. I could tell it sat somewhere deep. But he kept bagging, like always. Gentle hands, focused eyes. She kept watching, waiting for him to slip up. And when he did, it wasn't dramatic, wasn't some big crash. It was just the eggs, placed on top instead of tucked in. It lasted 2 seconds. But that was all she needed. Her mouth opened. And everything went sideways. It was barely noticeable. Just a moment. A small slip. He'd packed everything else with care. Cans on the bottom. Fruit wrapped in paper. The bread tucked gently along the side. But the eggs... He set them down, then reached to adjust them, probably realizing his mistake. But it was a second too late. Karen's voice cracked through the air like a whip. "Excuse me, what do you think you're doing?" The whole front end of the store froze. Raymond paused mid-scan. The woman behind her clutched her basket a little tighter. And my dad? He just looked up. Not startled, not defensive, just confused. Karen took a step forward, pointed down at the bag. "Are you seriously putting my eggs on top of my bread? Are you blind or just incompetent?" I felt it in my chest, tight, hot. But I didn't move yet, not until I saw how he reacted. He opened his mouth, then closed it again, tried to adjust the bag quietly, didn't speak, didn't argue. That only made her louder. "Oh no, don't you dare ignore me. This is exactly why I hate coming here. Every time it's something." Raymond cleared his throat. "Ma'am, I can fix that." "No," she snapped. "I want someone in charge. Someone who actually knows how to train their staff." That was my cue. I stepped around the counter and started walking toward them. She didn't see me yet. Too busy talking down to the one person in the room who didn't deserve it. "Bagging groceries isn't rocket science," she hissed. "But apparently it's too complicated for some people." And that's when my dad, still calm, still steady, looked her in the eye and said quietly, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you." Simple, sincere. But she wasn't looking for an apology. She wanted a scene. "Oh, you've upset me all right. You've ruined my entire day." I reached the register just in time to catch her spinning around. "And you?" She pointed at me like I was next on her list. "I need to speak to the manager." I folded my arms. "I'm the manager." Her mouth twitched. And for one tiny second, she looked unsure. But that passed. And the anger? It came roaring back. "You're the manager?" she said, like it was a punchline. I nodded. Calm. Didn't flinch. Didn't blink. She squinted at my name tag like it might give her something else to complain about. Then her voice dropped into that tone, sharp, smug, meant to be overheard. Well, that explains it. I knew what she meant. She wanted me to ask, wanted me to rise to it, but I didn't. I just looked her in the eye and said, "How can I help you, ma'am?" She crossed her arms. "You can start by explaining why this store thinks it's acceptable to let people like him handle groceries." That one hit harder than I expected. She didn't have to say more. Everyone within earshot knew exactly what she meant. Raymond froze. The woman behind her stepped back. And my dad? He just stood there. Quiet. Still. I felt something shift in my gut. A cold kind of anger. Not loud. Not flashy. Just there. "People like him?" I repeated. Karen waved her hand in the air like she was swatting a fly. "You know what I mean. He's slow. Clumsy. Doesn't listen. He nearly crushed my bread and threw the eggs on top like they're nothing." I looked at the bag. Everything was intact. Not even a cracked shell. "I can assure you nothing was thrown," I said. "Oh, please, don't gaslight me," she snapped. "I saw it with my own eyes. He was careless. He was rude. And when I called him out, he didn't even apologize." I turned to my dad. He looked at me. Not for guidance, not for protection, just a calm sort of resignation, like this wasn't new. He did apologize, I said. Twice. Karen's jaw tightened. I want him gone, she said flatly. I spend good money here, and I won't be treated like this. I nodded slowly. You're right. You do spend money here, just like everyone else. She tilted her head. I kept my voice level. But no one here gets to yell at my staff. No one gets to humiliate someone for a mistake that was already corrected. Her mouth opened, but I didn't give her the chance. If that's unacceptable to you, I said, there are other stores. She blinked. Didn't expect that. Not from me. But she still wasn't done. Not yet. She narrowed her eyes like she couldn't believe I wasn't falling all over myself to apologize. Like my refusal to panic was the real offense. You're seriously going to let this happen? She said. In front of all these people? I stayed steady, hands by my sides, voice low. I'm not letting anything happen, ma'am. I'm addressing a customer complaint. That's what managers do. Her lip curled. Don't patronize me. Behind her, the line had stopped moving. Raymond had paused the scanner. The woman next in line gave me a look, half sympathy, half disbelief. You could feel the weight in the air, tight, heavy, like everyone was waiting for the next match to hit the flame. Karen wasn't letting it go. He clearly isn't trained. He's slow, he's careless, and frankly, he doesn't belong behind that counter. I turned toward him. He still hadn't said a word, just stood there, calm, professional, with his hands lightly clasped in front of him, like he was holding something fragile. Maybe he was. I looked back at her. He's bagged groceries here for months, without a single complaint, I said. He's never been late, never been disrespectful, never once caused a problem. She scoffed. Well, he caused one today? I nodded. You're right. Something did happen today, and we're fixing it. You're not doing anything? She snapped. You're standing there pretending this is normal, that I'm the problem. I took a breath. I didn't say that. You didn't have to, she fired back. I'm going to report this. To corporate, to the BBB, to whoever will listen. You're welcome to do that, I said. That made her pause. People like her expect resistance. They feed off it. So when you stay calm, when you don't give them fuel, they don't know where to go. She pulled out her phone, started typing something furiously, thumb slamming the screen like she was trying to bruise it. I glanced over at my dad. He met my eyes, still steady, but I knew him too well. Underneath all that calm, there was something cracking, something trying not to fall apart. And all I could think was, you don't even know who you're yelling at. You don't even know the weight of what you're doing. But she just kept typing, fuming, righteous, like the world owed her something she hadn't gotten yet. While she ranted, I stopped listening to her voice. I started watching him. He was still standing there, hands folded, eyes fixed on the bag in front of him like it was the only thing that mattered. Like if he just focused hard enough, everything else might fade away. But I knew better. I knew what it cost him to be here, to get out of bed every morning, to put on that uniform, to walk into a store filled with noise and strangers when the silence at home was still screaming her name. My mom had passed 6 months ago. It wasn't sudden. It was slow, cruel. Cancer doesn't make a mess all at once. It steals in pieces. First her strength, then her appetite, then her voice. By the end, it was just him sitting beside her hospital bed, holding a hand that barely squeezed back. He didn't cry at the funeral, didn't cry when we closed the casket, didn't cry when he handed me her favorite scarf and said, "She wanted you to have this." But I caught him once, 3 weeks later, sitting in her chair, holding a grocery list in her handwriting like it was made of glass. That's when he asked if he could come help at the store. Said he needed something to do. Said being around people would be good for him. Said he didn't want to feel alone all the time. I told him he didn't have to, that he could take all the time in the world, but he just nodded. And the next morning, he showed up early, put on an apron, and started bagging groceries. He never asked for pay, never wanted attention. He just needed a reason to be out of the house. And now, here he was, getting screamed at over a loaf of bread and a dozen eggs by someone who didn't even know his name. Karen kept pacing near the register, still fuming, still muttering things loud enough for everyone to hear. But I wasn't looking at her anymore. I was looking at the man she was tearing down without even realizing it. And all I could think was, you have no idea how strong he is. You have no idea what he's still carrying. And yet here he stands. Not yelling, not walking away, just holding it all in, like he always does. It took longer than it should have. Everyone heard her. Everyone saw. But for a while, no one said a word. That's how these things go sometimes. People freeze. They watch. They wait for someone else to do something first. But eventually, it happened. The woman who'd been standing behind Karen the whole time, early 60s, floral blouse, hair up in a loose bun, cleared her throat. It wasn't loud, but in the tension of that moment, it might as well have been thunder. "Ma'am," she said, voice steady, "he's been nothing but kind to every single person who shops here." Karen turned, eyes narrowing. "This has nothing to do with you." The woman raised her chin a little. "It does when you humiliate someone in public, especially someone who's done nothing wrong." Karen scoffed, stepping back like the woman had just insulted her personally. "He messed up my order. He put the eggs on top of the bread. That's not how it's done." The woman didn't back down, and instead of asking him nicely, you decided to berate him like a child. "I was correcting him," Karen snapped. "No, you were attacking him. Big difference." Another customer, man in his 30s, holding a carton of milk, nodded. "Lady, you're making this way bigger than it needs to be." Karen's face flushed. Not from embarrassment, from being challenged. She looked around, realized people were watching, judging, and not in her favor. Her voice lost a bit of its edge. "I didn't mean to make a scene." No one said anything, just looked at her. She turned to me, tried to soften her expression, like flipping a switch. "I just had a rough morning. I wasn't trying to upset anyone." My dad didn't speak. He just kept his eyes on the bag. I answered for him. "Rough mornings don't give you permission to treat people like they're beneath you." Karen gave a tight smile, forced, ugly in its effort. "I suppose I owe him an apology." Her eyes didn't quite meet his. He nodded once, didn't say a word. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't even acknowledgement. It was grace, the kind only someone truly hurt can offer without making a sound. And somehow, that silence said more than any words could. Karen looked down, then slowly backed away from the counter, but the damage had already been done. She stood there for a second, like her body hadn't gotten the message her brain just did, that people were still watching, still judging. Her shoulders sank, not enough to call it shame, just enough to know she'd lost the room. She looked back at the counter, the groceries half bagged, like maybe she could pretend none of it had happened if she just went back to shopping. But nothing about that moment could be undone. The woman in the floral blouse stepped aside to let Karen leave the line. Didn't say a word. Just gave her that look. The kind only a mother or a teacher can give. The kind that says, "You should know better." Karen reached for her cart and started placing her items back in. Careful now. Quiet. Almost tender. No more muttering. No more eye rolls. She still didn't look at him. Didn't say sorry again. Didn't thank him. Just packed up her things and turned the cart toward the exit. She walked slower this time, like maybe the weight she tried to put on someone else had circled back and landed on her. The bell over the door chimed as she left. Just another customer gone. But the silence she left behind stayed thick. Raymond looked over at me, waited. I gave a small nod. He resumed scanning for the next person in line. And just like that, the rhythm of the store tried to restart, one beep at a time. But something still hung in the air. That kind of tension you don't just shake off. My dad turned slightly, started reaching for a new bag. Still working, still standing, but his hands were a little slower now. Not shaky, just tired. I walked over, leaned in close. "You all right?" I asked. He gave me a small smile, the kind that looks strong if you don't know him, the kind that looks broken if you do. I'm fine, he said. But it wasn't true. Not completely. And we both knew it. Sometimes people say the right things just to move forward, even when moving forward feels heavier than standing still. Karen had left the building, but the echo of her voice, that stayed for a while, not just in the air, but in the look on my dad's face, the one he tried to hide the moment he turned away. She never knew, never even asked. To her, he was just the old man at the end of the counter, a stranger in an apron, someone forgettable, but he's not. He's my father, the man she yelled at, the man she mocked in front of a dozen people, the man she called slow, incompetent, beneath her. He raised me, taught me everything I know about working hard, staying quiet, and holding your head up when people try to make you small. He's the reason I own this store. The reason I kept going when my credit was shot, when my first lease fell through, when everyone said the neighborhood couldn't support a small shop like mine. He helped build the shelves with his own hands, painted the walls with me before we even had a name for the place, made sure the cooler ran right, taught me how to talk to customers, really talk to them. And when my mom passed, when the world tilted and everything I thought was solid started to crack, he didn't collapse. He just stood up, quiet as ever, and asked how he could help. I didn't want him bagging groceries, didn't want him on his feet all day, dealing with long lines and picky customers. But he insisted, said he needed something to keep his hands busy, said the silence in the house was getting too loud, said it made him feel useful again. So I let him, because that's what he's always been. Useful, dependable, present. You'd never know it looking at him now. He doesn't talk much, doesn't offer up stories unless you ask. But every now and then, he'll make a kid laugh while double bagging a cereal box, or remember someone's name before they say it, or quietly slip a box of cookies into an elderly woman's bag without charging her just because he knows she can't afford it. He's not just a bagger, not to me, and definitely not to this store. So when Karen tore into him like he was nothing, like he was some disposable piece of the place she thought she owned with her money, I wanted to shout, to tell her who he was, what he's been through, what he's still carrying, but I didn't. Because he didn't want that. He didn't need defending. At least, not in the way she would have understood. The thing about grief is, it doesn't always look like sadness. It's not all tears and quiet moments. Sometimes it looks like motion, like someone who keeps moving, because if they stop, they'll fall apart. That's what it was for him. After my mom died, he didn't want to sit still. Didn't want casseroles or condolences. He wanted shelves to stock, carts to push, bags to fill. Said it helped to hear other people's voices, even if they weren't talking to him. At first I thought he was just trying to be strong. For me, for the family. But one night, I found him in the back storage room, sitting on a crate of paper towels, holding one of my mom's scarves in his lap. Just holding it. Not crying, not speaking. When he looked up, I didn't say anything, just sat beside him. That's when I knew this place had become more than a store to him. It was a lifeline. He needed it. Not because he had to earn a paycheck. He didn't. Not because he wanted to stay busy, though that was part of it. He needed to feel useful, to feel seen, to feel like he still had a place in the world after losing the one person who made it feel like home. So I gave him the apron, showed him the register, trained him like anyone else, and he showed up. Every morning. Early. No complaints. No excuses. He doesn't bag perfectly. Sometimes he double knots the plastic bags too tight. Sometimes he forgets to separate the cold stuff. But no one's ever complained. Not until her. To everyone else, he's the quiet man with gentle hands and soft eyes. The one who remembers your dog's name. The one who bags the bananas like they're made of glass. But to me, he's the man who held my mom's hand until the very last breath. The man who still folds her laundry, even though no one's going to wear it. The man who shows up, day after day, carrying more than anyone in that store could possibly imagine. And that's why it hit me so hard. Watching someone like Karen tear him down for something so small, so meaningless. Because he's not here for the money. He's not here for attention. He's here for the silence he's trying to outrun, and for the people who never even realized they needed him. She didn't offer a real apology, not one that meant anything, just that stiff, shaky version people give when they know they're being watched. "I didn't mean to upset anyone," she said again, eyes still avoiding his, hands gripping her cart like it might help her leave faster. No one answered. Not me, not him, not the line of people still waiting. She backed away from the register, turned the cart toward the door, like she hadn't just lit the whole front of the store on fire. The bell chimed again, and just like that, she was gone. But her voice, that stayed. In the quiet that followed, I could still hear the way she said incompetent. Still see the way her mouth twisted when she said people like him. Some words hang in the air longer than they should. They don't leave when the person does. They settle in. He went back to work. Of course he did. Because that's who he is. But the bags were slower now. His shoulders a little lower. Like maybe all that weight she tried to throw on him landed. He wouldn't say anything. Wouldn't want to make it a bigger deal. He never does. But I saw it. Saw the way his fingers hesitated when he reached for the next item. Saw how he blinked a little more than usual, like he was trying to reset something inside himself. I hate that she got to him, even for a second, because she won't think about this again. She'll go home, complain to her husband or her group chat, tell a version of the story where she's the victim. But us? We'll remember. He'll remember. I'll remember watching him stand there, holding his composure like it was something fragile in both hands. And that's the part she'll never understand. How easy it is to break someone who's already holding on by threads. How fast your words can crawl under someone's skin and stay there. She thought she won, walked out thinking she taught someone a lesson. But the only lesson she gave was this. People show you exactly who they are when they think no one's watching. Or worse, when they think no one will care. She was wrong. We saw it. We cared. And I promise you, he'll never be invisible in this store again. After the rush slowed down and the line disappeared, I walked over to him. He was at the end of aisle 3, straightening boxes of cereal that didn't need straightening. Hands busy, eyes low, back turned just enough to keep people from seeing his face. "Hey," I said gently. He didn't look up right away, just kept sliding boxes an inch this way, an inch that way, making order out of something already fine. "Everything good?" I asked. He nodded once, didn't speak. I waited. He finally exhaled, long and quiet, then turned toward me with that same tired smile. "I'm fine," he said. But it wasn't true. I knew it. He knew I knew it. Still, we both pretended. "Okay," I said, "just checking." He nodded again. "Appreciate it." We stood there for a second, not saying much, just breathing in the quiet. I thought about telling him he didn't have to come in tomorrow, that maybe he should take a day, go sit in the park, clear his head. But I didn't, because I knew he wouldn't. This place, this rhythm, it's how he copes. And if I took that away, it would only make the silence louder. So instead I reached up and adjusted one of the cereal boxes he'd just straightened. He gave me a look, half playful, half exhausted, like I'd just messed up something sacred. I smiled. He shook his head. But I saw it, a little bit of light behind the tired. And for now, that was enough. We walked back to the front together. He tied off the trash. I wiped down the register. No big conversation, no dramatic closure. Just quiet cleanup after a mess someone else made. The music played soft over the speakers again. A slow, forgettable song. But somehow it helped. He turned off the lights over aisle 9. I locked the front door. And together, we stood there a moment longer, looking out at the empty parking lot. The stillness of it, the peace. He patted my shoulder once, said "See you in the morning." I nodded. "Yeah, I'll be here." He walked out first. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't have to. The door closed behind him with a soft click. And for the first time all day, I realized just how heavy the air had been, and how much quieter things feel when the yelling stops. But the echo stays. He was already there when I walked in. Same windbreaker, same calm eyes. Same old coffee mug sitting on the counter, steam rising in that lazy way it does when the world's still waking up. He'd swept the entry mats, restocked the bagging station, checked the bathroom lights like he always does, even though no one ever asked him to. "Morning," I said. He looked up from the counter, nodded. "Morning." No mention of yesterday, no trace of it in his voice. You'd think nothing had happened, like it was just another Thursday. Like the yelling, the accusations, the humiliation, none of it stuck. But I knew better. I watched him for the first hour. Not because I didn't trust him, because I needed to see if it left a mark. And if it did, he didn't show it. He bagged groceries with the same care, asked customers how their day was going, offered help without hesitation. An older man complimented his speed. A kid smiled when he dropped a pack of stickers into the bag without saying a word. And a woman handed him a small folded note that just said, "Thank you for your kindness yesterday." Some of us noticed. He didn't unfold it right away, just slipped it into his pocket, kept working. He never brought her up, never asked if she'd called, never asked what people were saying. That's not his way. He'd already processed it the only way he knew how, by showing up, by doing the work, by refusing to be smaller than what happened to him. And maybe that's what got to me most. Not his silence, but his strength. Not once did he let her win. Not by breaking. Not by hiding. Not by carrying her bitterness into today. He just packed groceries, one bag at a time, like he always does. Some people talk about courage like it's loud, like it kicks down doors and shouts in someone's face. But sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it looks like a man showing up after being humiliated and still offering kindness to the people around him. That morning, he was exactly who he'd always been. No revenge, no speech, no bitterness, just my dad. At the bagging station, still here, still standing, still doing the job like nothing ever happened, even though we both knew everything had. I've been thinking a lot about that word lately, respect. People throw it around like it's currency, like it's something you earn with a job title or a name tag or the kind of car you drive. But I don't think that's it. I think respect starts with something much simpler. Seeing someone, really seeing them. Not what they do, not how fast they work, not how neatly they pack a bag, but who they are underneath it all. The truth is, most people never even look that far. They see gray hair and think slow. They see silence and think weakness. They see kindness and think small. Karen saw an old man in a grocery apron. She saw someone who made a tiny mistake and treated him like that was all he'd ever been. She never saw the man who stayed by his wife's side while she died. She never saw the hands that built this store before it opened its doors. She never saw the father who raised a son strong enough to stay calm while she shouted across the register. She saw what she wanted to see. And that was enough for her to decide he didn't deserve respect. But that's the problem, isn't it? We judge people on snapshots, moments, assumptions. And by the time we realize we were wrong, the damage is already done. I think about all the times someone like him gets overlooked, talked over, dismissed, how many times he smiled through it just to keep the peace. How many people walk out of this store without ever realizing they just met one of the strongest men I've ever known. Respect isn't about status. It's not about perfection. It's not about who gets the last word. It's about how you treat someone when no one's watching. It's about choosing kindness when you could choose power. It's about not needing someone to earn dignity before you give it to them. That's what she never understood. And maybe she never will. But we saw him. The people in line. The woman in the floral blouse. Me. We saw who he really is. And that matters. Because when you see someone, really see them, you don't need a title to know they deserve respect. You just know. And that should be enough. So now I'm asking you, what would you have done? If you saw someone being talked down to over something so small, would you have spoken up? Would you have stayed quiet? Would you have looked a little closer before deciding Who was right and who was just in the way? Let me know in the comments. Not just what you think, but what you feel. Because respect, it starts with awareness. And sometimes, all it takes is one person choosing to see